Hello, everybody. It's JJ Conway. I hope that you can hear me okay. I want to welcome you to our Ladies of Wealth podcast live recording. If you are hearing me on the podcast after the live recording, then I want to welcome you to the Ladies of Wealth podcast. And I'm really excited for our content tonight. Now, as you'll notice, I'm not in my home studio, I'm not in my downtown studio. I am in a restaurant on the edge of what's about to become a series of sundown towns I got to go through before I can get home. And when I realized I wasn't going to make it home, I decided to just go ahead and broadcast from right here in the restaurant. And so the lighting's not great. Hopefully the sound's okay. I'm using my earbuds, my trusty how to start your podcast for $20 or less earbuds. And hopefully it will be okay enough for you to get some good education. So if you can hear me clearly, go ahead and drop a like or a love or a wow face or something. Even give me an angry face. I really don't care which one you give me, as long as I see something on the screen that lets me know you can hear me. Okay, that you can hear me okay, and that the restaurant noise isn't too loud. All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about private lending 101. And many of you know that I am not a big fan of debt, so it might seem strange that I'm going to teach you about debt today. I'm going to explain why I'm going to do that as we get into the slides. And I'm going to tell you how you can learn a little bit more about the way that I do work with other investors, even though I don't like to take debt from other investors. And so we'll talk about that as well. We'll give you some opportunities to dig deeper and all those good things. Before we get into all of that, I've got some announcements, y'all. You know, I've got some announcements. Oh, it might help if I put my slides on. Hold on. Let me pop them in there. Okay. I've got some announcements to make. Wait, did I welcome y'all to the podcast? Okay. I want to welcome you to the Ladies of Wealth podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about. Um, um, okay, so look, I had already done like 10 minutes of this before I realized I was not live. So I'm a little bit loopy right now. Plus, I'm souped up on unsweet tea, y'all. It's unsweet because I'm committed to my health goals. I didn't make 50 by 50, but I did make 20 by 50. And hopefully, before I hit 51, the other 30 will be gone as well, right? Goals, goals. All right, but anyway, let me start that all over again. I want to welcome y'all to the Ladies of Wealth podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you all tonight. And if you are listening to me as part of the podcast and not live with us on Thursdays, well, you need to come on and be with us live Thursdays where you can get your questions answered and learn about how to secure your family's financial future. I like to say we help hardworking women and a few good men dump debt and build wealth. All right, tonight we're going to talk about, or today, depending on when you're hearing me, we're going to be talking about private lending. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is, why y'all know I don't like debt. So I'm going to talk about why I include that. And then we're going to look into some use cases and some opportunities for you to dig a little deeper. Now, if you wonder why I'm broadcasting from a restaurant, I can't remember if I said it because, again, this is like my fourth start. And the last one, I literally talked for like 15 minutes and then realized I wasn't live. I was like, man, nobody's on. I know I'm a little early and everybody's used to me being a little late, but come on now. So anyway, I'm coming back from a fabulous, fabulous homegoing for Evangelist Cohn's mother, Evangelist Dora Reed. And I tell you what, I came in there crying. Wait, let me put this on me. Okay, I came in there crying, right? I came in there with sad because you know what, this is her mom, and this was someone who has impacted her and her children. And some of you might know that when we were in Oklahoma City, her husband and my husband at the time were pastors, and so that was my, things that I learned about being a pastor's wife. I learned from her, and so of course, I'm going to come pay my respects. And now I'm entering that particular phase of life where I have personal summers and I cry at everything. It's like my body's making up for 23 years being in the military and trying really hard not to cry. And then I had that car accident, and then I was just like crying all the time anyhow. So that's, the brain is an interesting thing. But I'm in there boohooing, boohooing. I'll tell you what, that woman eulogized her mother so well that by the time we got done with the homegoing, I'm taking pictures with her kids because I used to take Sunday school with them. I'm taking pictures with her because she's looking so fabulous. I get to my car and I'm like, wait a second, this wasn't a revival, it was a homegoing. But that's how powerful her preaching was, and that's how uplifted I was, even as she talked about the legacy of her mother. and everything that her mother went through, and how she was able to overcome and still be a blessing to her dying breath, be a blessing to God's people. And so that's a legacy I want. That's something that Elder Taylor did too. When I used to go visit Elder Taylor, in that last visit, she was slowing down, and yet she was still ministering to the nurses. And I was just like, that's what I want. That's what I want my legacy to be, y'all. Okay, so I do have some more announcements. Let me put the slide back on. Okay, I do have some more announcements. We have some interesting things coming up, and the first one I want to tell you about is the Opulus book, 75 Women Who Impacted Microsoft's $1 trillion shift. And not only is this project highlighting the lives of these powerful women, but in this whole book launch, Microsoft is giving away, y'all, these are $10,000 value certifications. Microsoft is giving away their Microsoft AI certifications as part of this book launch. Microsoft executives are also mentoring women who participate in part of this launch. Okay, your people who participate in this launch are going to get access and exposure, as well as access to funding and key executives to open up doors for them and help them get their products through. So, I mean, super, super excited. It's definitely a situation where givers gain. And so if you want to join me on Microsoft at the end of next month on the red carpet, you can come on and do that. Or if you just want to support the project, hey, text Opulus to my number there, and you will be able to get your information on how you can join me in Microsoft. Or if you can't make it to join me in Microsoft, you will get information on how. No way, my battery's running low. I'm in the middle of I'm in the middle of an ad. Okay, well, all right, y'all. This class is going to be a bust because my battery is running low. So let me just scroll through my slides real quick. I promise you we'll get to it. We do have some cool things coming up. I'm not going to talk about them now because my battery is about to run out. I'm just going to scroll through these. Most of y'all have seen them. Lots of different ways to invest in real estate. Worst podcast recording ever. Okay, so I'm just doing some review. This is the review I would have done had I had more time and it didn't tell me my battery was dying. It must not have been all the way closed in my bag. Keep going. All right, why is it not doing that? Okay, so I do want to talk about private lending. Private lending is where you use somebody else's money to buy a property. And y'all know I don't really like debt. And so you would think, well, why is she teaching us about this? Well, it's because you're going to learn about it. And everywhere you go in real estate investing, everybody's going to glorify the use of other people's money. And so since everybody's going to glorify the use of other people's money, I, as a financial planner, feel like I should teach you about how people use other people's money. Okay. And so then if my battery doesn't run out, I will tell you at the end how I partner with other investors. I've got 2 deals I'm looking at right now. I am opening up the door for accredited investors, friends and family to come on in and partner with me. But we're not going to be able to talk about that today because I know I don't have battery for that. Okay. Anything can be a private lender, okay? And the reason somebody would give their money to an investor to help buy a house is because you're generally going to get higher returns from the market, okay? Anybody can jump in this game, and a lot of people are. I think I already covered this here. I'm going to teach it because I want your education to be complete, okay? And I'd rather you learn, hold on. The reason the gal who doesn't like debt is teaching you about a debt concept in real estate investing is I want you to learn from somebody who isn't trying to take your money and put you in debt. Okay, let me get off that. I feel myself getting riled up there. All right. Okay. So there's different kinds of private lending. One is where you have bunch of investors with little bits, like 5 or 10,000, or sometimes 20,000 a piece. And then in other situations, you might have a private lender who funds the entire deal. Where real estate investors commonly see this is a hard money lender, generally somebody who has a big old 401k. They roll it into a self-directed IRA, and they use their nest egg to fund your deals. They charge you incredibly high interest to do so, but it can be a way for a lot of people who have no experience in evaluating properties to get started. Personally, I'm a little hesitant about that. I kind of feel like you should partner with somebody who knows what they're doing first and is actually doing the thing rather than funding the thing. But that's a whole nother discussion for another day when I have more battery. So we're going to just talk a little bit about both of these options here. Okay, I'm just going to give you an example of a private lending example. The example I'm going to give you is one where small amounts from different investors. The investor in this case pulled a bunch of us and bought this property for $93,000. Spent about 50 on the renovation and had a 204 sales price. Okay, and so I can't see the numbers because the, their slide thing is covering that up. So that's something Stringer needs to fix. But anyway, this shows you the before and the middle and then the after. This is what sold. Okay, so you can see those three columns there. In this case, she had raised $150,000 from private lenders. She promised us 12% interest. And so at the time, market rates were like 2 or 3, right? And so that would have been an interest cost of about 18,000. So she'd have to pay us back the 150 she collected from us. And then she would have to also pay the 18,000 to give all of us our interest. Okay. But she raised the money, bought the property, renovated. She still had some money left over. Okay, sold off the property. That's a $44,000 profit. It was a win for it was a win for her, and it would have been a win for all the other investors. Okay, uh, if she hadn't run off with the money. Okay, this in our environment right now, a lot of people are giving anywhere from 8 to 12%, kind of just above the market for a short term, upwards of 20% per year if you allow them to use your money for a couple of years. Okay, that's a very high rate of return, and you're not going to get that in the market. That's why it's so appealing to private lenders. Okay, but this one was a poor deal because let's see if we can see it here before my battery dies. This one here, she overbought. She overspent and overbuilt for the neighborhood. In this neighborhood, people who were buying Okay, let's see if it can let me do this now. Let's see. Let's see. I gotta change it to take off the slides because y'all can't see the slides. So I'm trying to do this on my cell phone, which does not work well. StreamYard does not play well with the iPhone. So unfortunately, I am having trouble figuring out how to take my slides off. Let's see, layout. There we go. Ah, okay, great. Okay, so we're gonna try this out. Oh man, I look so much better here than I did earlier. But the screen though, oh dear. Can we fix that? I don't think. I don't know what's better. All right, sorry y'all, but at least I can hang it on the back of my. Oh man, I actually look cute, y'all. Okay, don't let my catfish fool you. Though. This is my catfish pose because I look like this in the camera, but then I scoot back and I got the belly. We working on it though. We working on it. Okay. So um, talking about what was I talking about? I was talking about some aspect of private lending, and so basically, what I was saying, I hope, was that it's a good deal for everybody involved if everybody involved knows what they're doing. The reason I'm really hesitant to recommend, the reason I'm really hesitant to recommend private lending a lot is because a lot of people who do it, they don't know what they're doing. A lot of new investors go to their very first real estate investment meeting and they get all excited and they go out and they rush to meet up with a hard money lender who then qualifies them based on their income. And then the next thing they know, they go find a deal and it's $100,000 and they think it needs $10,000 of work and they think they're going to sell it for $300,000. And then they get into it and they discover, so they borrow 150,000 from the hard money lender just to be safe at 18, 20, 25%, y'all. And then they get into it and they realize, oh, I thought it was only going to take 10,000 to, it was a minor cosmetic. The wholesaler told me it was cosmetic. The wholesaler told me that it was easy. It was just cosmetic. I was just going to have to slap some paint and some new cabinets and we were good. And guess what? You get in there and start tearing walls down and you got mold over here and you got rotted floors over there and another $100,000 that you can't move this property and you got to hold on to it for another couple of months while you resolve those issues. It's costing you more than you borrowed, and hello, you got to service that debt with the hard money lender as you're going. Now, if you're working with a private individual, you might be able to get away with that because they're hopefully not giving you hopefully you've structured your deal properly where they're not calling that due for a year, right? They can call their money due at any time if you're going to do well with people, but maybe you put something in there that if they call it earlier than a year, they don't get any interest or something like that, right? And now you're really kind of in a tough spot, all right, because you didn't realize what you didn't realize because you're so new to it, and you got all excited. It says phone. I hope y'all even heard all that. That was a really good example. Okay. Oh dear. Hopefully that worked. Hold on just a second. Let me test my audio. Let me see what it was with that. I think it was about the same. Okay. Anyway, we're not going to worry. That story came out okay. Okay, so that's the reason why people will do private lending. It's usually a win for everybody involved as long as everybody involved knows what they're doing. The reason I'm not a big fan of it is because A, it's debt, and B, it's something that a lot of times people get into without knowing what they're doing. Now, um, a savvy hard money lender will know what they're doing before they start giving away chunks of their 401k or their self-directed IRA to fund your deals, right? Not giving away, lending away. They'll generally know what they're doing before they do that. But new investors don't always know what they're doing. They don't know what they're in for, and they don't know what's going to happen when they start tearing down walls, okay? And so that's something we have to be aware of. And then the other thing we have to be aware of is if you're taking on your first or second or third deal, you may not know what's appropriate to help get that house sold quickly or what's appropriate to get the maximum profit. So the example that I showed you before my computer battery died was a house that was overbought. And it's so hilarious to me because I don't know if she's on today, but Jaleesa Hardy, she has the Golden Child newsletter. She's all about holistic health. And she was one of my very, very first paid clients and one of my very, very first paid real estate investing 101 students. In fact, she did financial peace with me. Then she rolled into real estate investing. And I think she was first, second, or third person to pay for that very first class. So we're in that class and I'm walking through the deal and I'm all excited because it's my deal, right? It's not my deal. I wasn't the investor, but it was me rebuilding my life. I had finally saved up some money, and I got a bonus or something, and I gave it to her, to the investor, not Jaleesa, but I gave it to the investor. And so me and Jaleesa and whoever else was in the class, we were analyzing the deal. I hadn't told them it was my deal. We were analyzing the deal, and I was like, "So what do you know about this deal?" And they were like, "Yeah, this investor overbought for the neighborhood." And my heart sunk because I had just come to the same conclusion as we were analyzing real world deals. And I didn't have the heart to tell them it was my deal that I was one of the investors in. So, so there we are. But that investor, she actually ran off with the money. And this is one of the reasons, I mean, okay, one of the main reason I love my CPA is because she is good at what she does. But she was the one that brought me into that. And because she brought us into that and the lady ran off with our money, my CPA actually worked out a deal with me to make it right. And I already loved her when we were sitting in the back of Sherman Ragland's real estate class with our nursing babies. Like I was already thought she was the most amazing thing in the world. But that level of integrity is the kind of level of integrity that you need if you're going to go ask people to come in with you on deals. And now her deals have gotten much more expensive, the ones that she puts together. But this other lady ran off with our money, and it was my realization. I was like, you know what? I could have done this myself. And sometimes we know stuff intellectually, but we don't always know it in our heart that we can actually step forward. And that's why my classes that I teach, the follow-on classes and the dig deeper classes, is to give you more confidence that yes, you can go out there and do it. You can go get a $3,000 house. You can go get a $5,000 house. You can go get a $100,000 house, whatever your market is, and you can fix it up and you can make something happen. And you don't have to be scared. You follow solid financial principles, and every once in a while something goes wrong, but most of the time things go right when you operate according to the three main rules of real estate investing. And so, just as I'm not gonna. Well, I skipped the review, so you should be able to see those slides if you go back to the beginning of this, where we talked about you make your money when you buy. Your investors are your secret weapons, and then you find your deals. You go where the investors are, and those are my number three golden rules of real estate. And so for me, it's like, okay, if you follow these rules, it's very rare that you're going to lose money. You may not grow big and grow fast, overnight be in charge of 1,000,000 homes, 1,000,000 doors. But what you have is going to give you peace to be able to sleep at night knowing that you don't owe anybody or you aren't beholden to somebody that you can't help with, okay? And so the concept of private lending is actually very simple. Basically, somebody else is funding your property. So instead of going to the bank, you're going to somebody else. That somebody else could be a group of investors, like a group of people each pitching in $10,000 to $20,000, or that somebody else could be one investor who is giving you all the money for that deal. Depending on the level, some investors that are playing at high dollar amounts, they really don't want anybody else partnering up in this deal. They want it to just be you and them, and you're doing the work and they brought the money and everybody gets compensated. And so I like those kinds of structures. I try not to structure mine as debts though, and that's something that does keep me from playing in some of the bigger fields, because I want it to be I don't necessarily like to call it partnership, but maybe we could call it a limited kind of partnership, a joint venture, where we're in this thing together. I'm not promising you or trying to guarantee you returns on the market when I don't know what those returns might be. But we're working together, and I find that it's a wonderful way for new investors to get involved because now you get involved with somebody who already knows what they're doing, and you're walking alongside and you're partnering and you're part of the decision making process. You're on site looking at the property, working with the contractors, and you're getting all of that education in an incredibly low risk environment. Not no risk, but low risk. And again, I am not soliciting any investments tonight. All right. And if I was, you'd have to be either friends and family or an accredited investor anyway. And I don't have time to accredit anybody or to verify your accreditation. Y'all know what that means? Y'all ever see ads and they say accredited investors only? It basically means you have over $1 million in net worth. Because like the SEC doesn't want you scamming poor people. But if you scam somebody who's worth over $1 million, I guess they don't care as much. that's not that's not law. Okay, that's just my impression. All right. Um, but the concept is very simple. What's not so simple is actually getting people to give you their money, and it really comes down to trust. And one of the things that I've learned from Dr. Cialdini's work on influence is that influence and trust often isn't built from the things we think it's built from. Like if I'm a hard worker and I care and I always make sure that I uphold my promises, and if I can't uphold my promises, I make it right as quick as I possibly can, we would call that integrity, and we would think that that is something that builds instant trust. And of course, you're going to give me your money to invest with on your house because you can trust me that I'm going to be a person of integrity. But that isn't the main reason. In fact, sometimes I find that people trust people just because they look trustable, or that they look like they're going to do good with the money, or they have a presence about them. And so maybe today you don't have that presence and you feel like, well, maybe you can't attract anybody into partnering with you, venturing with you, lending you their money for you to do your deals. Well, we can work on that. We can absolutely work on that because even if I don't like debt, the skills that help you in going after the private money, whether you're taking on debt or whether you're doing some kind of eclectic partnership venture thing, those it's the same skill set. And what you need is to create an environment where people trust that I'm going to do this with her, I'm going to do this with him, and I am going to make my money back. Now you don't always make your money back because real estate is an up and down deal. There's a ton of people when in 2008, 2009 that lost money in the real estate market. Everybody practically lost money in the real estate market unless they were old enough to read the tea leaves. And there are some people who did. I used to be subscribed to some magazines back then. They came in the mail like once a month, and you would read about all these people. Money Magazine, Entrepreneur Magazine, all. I don't know what was one Kiplingers. I don't remember what they were, but they had a theme in common. Right before the market crashed, all these people who had significant equity, like they bought their house when it was 100,000, and now it was worth or 900,000 or over 1,000,000 in high cost of living areas like San Francisco and DC and stuff like that. They were selling their properties and moving into a small condo or buying a small little temporary home, expecting that the market was going to crash. And when the market crashed, they were going to take that savings and scoop up all those properties that they could. And my little 20-something-year-old self person, I was like, well, the market's always going to go up. Real estate always goes up. No, it doesn't. It didn't that year. It crashed hard. And guess what? I ended up over $800,000 in debt, and those people who read the tea leaves because they had mature and had some experience, they scooped up all the properties with all that cash, and they made themselves instant multimillionaires. Okay, and so we want to understand that there's a lot of things about real estate that we don't always just learn off of late night TV or one little seminar in a hotel room. It really is important to have somebody walk alongside you. Okay, and so my slides are down, and I can't really, I don't want to go off of memory because when we talk about private lending, it is something that can really get you sent to jail really fast. Okay. And so I do at least want to tell you that if you were going to take on private lenders, and again, my style of investing, I really don't recommend you creating new debt. I don't have a problem with you taking over somebody else's loan. We teach that in subject to. That can be a fantastic way to buy a property when you can't qualify for a loan yourself. Okay. and you're helping somebody out who's in a tough situation, you're helping yourself, and you're helping the end user of that property, right? Win, win, win. You know, I love the triple wins. But if you don't know what you're doing in real estate, I'm really, and if you don't know what you're doing, let me say it this way. If you don't know what you're doing in real estate and you don't have enough money or enough assets to be able to liquidate something and pay off that entire debt if something goes south and pay off those all those investors, I personally don't recommend that you're going to take that on. I just don't. I remember the difference between falling asleep at night thinking that everything was going to crash around me even worse because I couldn't pay those mortgages, and being able to have free and clear properties that if I can't find a renter right away, it's okay. And really, when you shake out the profit, personally, I feel like you make more profit faster with free and clear properties. Okay. And so I did want to at least touch on that as far as private lending goes. I guess it's not going to be as full of a class as I want. But you know what, to be honest with you, is because I'm traveling, it was really a dust off of last year's class. So go out onto my YouTube channel, JJ Knows the Way. Hey, we hit 10,000 subscribers, y'all. I forgot to tell you in the beginning, we hit 10,000 subscribers on the Ladies of Wealth podcast, on the Ladies of Wealth YouTube channel, JJ Knows the Way. I am so excited about that. And if you want to dig more into the mechanics of private lending, I'm going to verbally give you the class that's coming up in a couple weeks, but you can go out there and learn the mechanics of the private lending on the YouTube channel, because it was pretty much the same slides, just with updated numbers and things for 2025. Okay. And there wasn't that much of an update because we're not giving a lot of numbers. Okay. But I had some math errors in my earlier slides when I went through examples. So we fixed that. So let me tell you really quick about the opportunities to dig a little deeper. I have it's normally $159, $179, something like that, but we're doing it only for $199, for just $99. I will sit down with you, and instead of it being a class like it normally is, it's just going to be one-on-one. I will give you my private lender thing that started off our real estate investing, our first two little deals. And you'll be able to customize that for you to use for your joint ventures, your partners, whatever it is that you're going to be using it for. You can customize those. And I will sit down and answer all your questions in a one-on-one environment. So normally I do group classes, but this $99 is just me and you, okay? And then we do have a group class coming, and normally that one is $499, but for tonight it's going to be $199. And that is going to be a deep dive into private lending. So you're going to learn, how do I stay out of the jail and don't get in trouble with the SEC? What kind of scripts can I use to practice on so I know what to say to these investors? Templates, PowerPoint slides, all that kind of marketing information that you're going to need. How do I get them in the room? How do I find them in the first place? We cover all of that. And what we do is, when we're in the class, we customize those solutions for everybody's personality. Because some of us like making phone calls. Some of us don't like making phone calls. Some of us are okay with just going up to strangers and talking to them. Others of us do not like going up to strangers and talking to them. So real estate is not a one size fits all. To be successful, we have to get in tune with what your personality is, what your health and strength is, what your resources are, what level of risk you're comfortable with. All of those things together create your customized plan, and that's what we do in that private lending workshop. By the end of that workshop, you're going to have a customized plan that gives you the confidence you need to be able to go out there and get some property. And if you want to do it through private lending, you will be equipped with the tools to be able to do so. You'll have had a chance to role play and get comfortable with the script and understand what people need and how to frame your solutions in the ways that they need. I'm telling you, it's a gold mine. And instead of being $500, it's only $199. So you need to jump on that tonight. For both of those classes, you're going to need to PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. All three of them are Queen of Cash Flow. That's my handle. So it's paypal.com, or no, paypal.me for me, /Queen of Cash Flow. It's $ Queen of Cash Flow for Cash App. And for Venmo, it's just Queen of Cash Flow. They're all Queen of Cash Flow. Easy to remember. Queen of Cash Flow. Going to help you put more cash in your pocket. I'm so excited that y'all were here with me today. I know the sound quality wasn't the best. I hope you got a blessing. I hope the restaurant folks got a blessing. because I sure enjoyed that food, that's for sure. But that's all I'm going to do for you today. We will have a longer class next week. If you have questions about real estate investing, if you have questions about private lending, next week will be the time to ask them, because after next week's fireside chat, we're going to go into our normal end of the year preparation to have the best 2026 we can have. We're going to do our Think and Grow Rich. We're going to look at we might even look at As a Man Think at this time as part of our countdown to your best year ever. So this next week will be the last time to ask me questions about this real estate investing, and then soon I will put out a poll for what real estate investing topics you want me to cover in 2026. Y'all, can you believe that the year is 3/4 over already? Like at the end of this month, we are 3/4 done with 2025. I can't even believe it, y'all. I'm still feeling like we just had January. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for listening to me or for watching me, those of you who hung on through my technical difficulties. And for those of you listening on the Ladies of Wealth podcast, we encourage you to come out every Thursday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, and join us for our live recording that eventually ends up becoming the podcast. Y'all take care and be blessed.